Welcome back to Cape Town, everybody, and we've moved inside the dome, and this is where the Finance Minister is going to be delivering the budget speech for 2025. I made a mistake a bit earlier on the program. I was saying that this was where the State of the Nation address was delivered. It wasn't the State of the Nation address, it was the reply to the State of the Nation address. So the President delivered SONA at the City Hall, but it was the reply that was done here inside this dome structure that is going to be a part and parcel of Parliament, and possibly where Parliament will be sitting for the next 2 to 3 years. That's what they've been saying, until we see some developments happening across the road at the parliamentary precinct after that fire destroyed it. But of course, this is all coming at a cost, isn't it? We've got to find the money to do everything that we need in this country, and that's what the Minister is going to unveil to us a bit later on. And Tshepo, Mongoai and myself here, of course, trying to put our head around how he's going to do this, how he's going to balance it. But one of the big things as well, Tshepo, that we haven't touched on are the conditional grants. And I want us to go into a little bit onto that, because we haven't touched on it firstly. And secondly, I'm not sure if people understand exactly what conditional grants actually are. So let's go there.
Well, they're quite important, especially for municipalities. Municipalities raise most of their own revenue, but they also receive a certain amount from the fiscus. So the money that they receive from the fiscus, most of them come as conditional grants. This money earmarked for development, infrastructure development, schools. If it's a provincial government, they can only be used for such projects and cannot be used for anything else. Now, a major problem is there's been a rollover, a lack of implementation of projects that are earmarked for under the conditional grants, and where you find that money is not being spent adequately. But where it's been spent, you find that municipalities use that money for other things that are not supposed to be used for. So as a result, you find that there are delays, there are problems in terms of infrastructure, despite the fact that the money is available. So what government is trying to do now, and I'm sure the minister will spell out, a little bit more details around that. There are duplicates around conditional grants, both national, provincial, and local government. There are certain conditional grants that are trying to address issues, and they're being implemented by provincial government as well as national government and provincial government. So they want to merge some of these functions, some of these grants, so that they're a little bit more efficient. There's been a lot of wastage as a result, and government, the fact that it doesn't have money, so they could be a little bit more of tightening up things around conditional grants, so they can be savings but more value for money.
I mean, and that's the reality is that the money that you're talking about is the money that is so desperately needed to improve what we see in municipalities and in provinces and schools and universities and hospitals. The money is available, it's just not being used in the right way. Now, one of the ways that we were speaking off air is the fact that some of this money is actually used to pay wages. That shouldn't be the case. And then, of course, there's the public sector wage bill, which is another issue that we need to talk about. My guest a bit earlier, Dr. Patience Nombeko Mbaba, she was talking to the fact that the issue of ghost workers, and you're paying this money, but we don't even know if these people are actually working. Now, that money should be used, as you're saying, for building infrastructure development. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, the fact that ability by municipalities to spend, it's a major concern. As a result, you find that they don't have the right skill to carry out some of these projects that governments give them to do. But the issue, of course, the fact that we don't have money also calls for government to look at some of the projects that they're spending on. You've mentioned the issue of wage bill. Of course, the wage bill it's a major concern. The medium-term budget policy statement make a provision, I think, for around 4.7%, and MPs had a very difficulties passing that 4.7, because they say we passed this 4.7%, but we know the outcome are not going to be that 4.7%.
Looking at like 5.5 minimum.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what is the point of doing that? But indeed, as things stand now, we're looking at 5.5%. That's higher. So government will have to find ways of raising this money, additional revenue from the public sector wage. Obviously, they would do it, and from previous experience, we all know that it's never in line with the Treasury's projections. It's always higher. So the minister again will have to give more facts around how they're going to deal with this increase. But of course, negotiations are still ongoing. Not all unions have agreed to the 5.5%. Some are still consulting with their members.
Listen, when food inflation is more than what you're earning, it's a big problem, and it'll be very hard to wrangle around that. Tshepo, thank you. I don't know if we're going to talk again, but Tshepo's going to be with you throughout the day. He's going to be a very busy man as the economics team work to bring this to you. We haven't even touched on the DRC issue, Gauteng e-tolls. There's so much. Perhaps when we come back, we'll talk more about that. Let's quickly get your sports headlines from V.